It's so cold, your body just freaking aches.
And it's starting to take its toll.
I can't take this much longer, man.
The cold. So the cold is pretty much the biggest thing you got to survive out here, being on the streets. There's people who have, from the hypothermia, just.
It's cold at night, man. It really is. And down here, especially on top of concrete.
When you look at your setup here, what kind of goes through your head? What do you feel?
I just have no family left. I'm all alone.
After the COVID hit, then the rent prices went skyrocket. I can't pay $1,300 for a one-bedroom apartment, so I got expedited out of the place, and I've been homeless ever since.
Winter in Maryland doesn't arrive gently. It settles into the streets, hard and unforgiving, through biting wind, falling snow, and temperatures that strip warmth from the body within minutes. As this winter deepens, more than 7,200 people are facing it without shelter, while emergency facilities across the state are already full. When the doors close, the cold doesn't pause. It moves in. Sidewalks become bedrooms. Bus stops become protection from wind. Thin blankets, cardboard, and layers of clothing become the only defense against sub-zero nights. This is not simply a weather problem. It's a survival reality unfolding in one of the wealthiest nations on Earth. Every snowfall increases the risk. Every freezing night drains strength. And every decision, where to sleep, how to stay dry, how to stay warm, can mean the difference between making it through the night or not. Winter exposes what's usually hidden. When shelters are full and temperatures keep falling, the crisis becomes impossible to ignore. This documentary takes you inside America's winter homelessness emergency, where snowstorms, full shelters, and human survival collide, and staying alive becomes the only objective. This winter, Maryland is facing more than just snow and freezing temperatures. For thousands of people, it's a season of survival. In this documentary, we'll take a closer look at how sub-zero cold, full shelters, and relentless winter storms are shaping daily life for those experiencing homelessness across the state. If you find stories like this important, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us continue sharing real stories that matter, especially during the harshest winter months. Chapter 1. When winter turns Maryland's streets into a fight for survival. Winter in Maryland does not arrive softly. It moves in with freezing wind, heavy snow, and cold that tightens its grip every single night. For many Americans, winter means warmth indoors. But for thousands without shelter, winter means exposure, risk, and uncertainty. As temperatures drop below freezing, the streets slowly become places where survival replaces comfort. Sidewalks covered in snow turn into sleeping spaces. Bus stops become shields against the wind, and darkness stretches longer with every passing day. Cold air pulls heat from the body faster than it can be replaced, especially when there are no walls, no roofs, and no reliable source of warmth. Even a few hours outside can weaken the body, draining energy, slowing movement, and increasing danger. Snow makes clothing wet, and wet clothing turns freezing temperatures into a serious threat. Rest becomes difficult, sleep becomes shallow, and the cold never truly lets go. Winter storms do more than block roads. They block access to food, transportation, and emergency help. Every decision matters: where to sit, where to stand, when to move, and when to endure. Short daylight hours reduce options, long nights increase risk, and the body pays the price. What looks quiet from the outside hides a reality shaped by constant calculation and quiet resilience. Winter does not create homelessness, but it exposes how fragile survival becomes without shelter. And as Maryland's winter deepens, the streets tell a story few ever hear, a story where staying alive is the only goal. This is how winter transforms ordinary spaces into places where endurance defines every moment. And this is where the crisis truly begins. Chapter 2. When cold temperatures rise and housing becomes unreachable. Winter is not dangerous only because of snow. It becomes dangerous when temperatures fall below critical levels. In Maryland winters, temperatures often drop below 32 F, and during cold waves, they can fall into the teens or single digits. At these levels, the human body begins losing heat faster than it can produce it. Medical studies show that prolonged exposure below 20 F can lead to hypothermia, frostbite, and loss of muscle control within hours. Now imagine facing those temperatures without insulation, without heat, and without a guaranteed place to sleep. This is where shelters become essential. But winter does not exist in isolation. It collides with another crisis: housing affordability. Over the past few years, average rent across Maryland has continued to rise, placing stable housing further out of reach for many low-income households. For people already struggling financially, a rent increase of even a few $100s can mean losing housing entirely. When winter arrives, those who cannot afford rent are pushed outdoors at the coldest time of the year. Shelters are meant to absorb this pressure, but they were never designed to replace permanent housing as cold days repeat and rent remains unaffordable. Shelter demand grows faster than space can expand. This creates a dangerous overlap where extreme cold meets limited shelter capacity and rising housing costs prevent quick recovery. Winter temperatures do not adjust to income levels, and rent prices do not pause for cold weather. When these forces collide, survival becomes harder and options disappear. This is why winter homelessness is not just seasonal. It is structural, economic, and environmental. And in freezing temperatures, those realities become impossible to ignore. Chapter 3. How extreme cold affects the human body in winter. Cold weather is not just uncomfortable, it changes how the human body functions. When temperatures drop below freezing, the body works harder to protect its core, pulling heat away from hands, feet, and skin. This process increases the risk of hypothermia, a condition that can begin when body temperature falls below 95 F. Early signs include shivering, confusion, slow movement, and extreme fatigue. In freezing conditions, these symptoms can appear faster than most people realize. Frostbite becomes another serious risk, especially when skin is exposed to cold wind and moisture. At temperatures below 20 F, frostbite can begin in as little as 30 minutes for someone sleeping outdoors. Wet socks, damp gloves, or snow-soaked clothing can accelerate this damage. Cold also weakens the immune system, making it easier for infections to develop and harder for the body to heal. Chronic conditions like asthma, heart disease, and untreated injuries become more dangerous in winter. At this point, if you're finding this information valuable, please take a moment to like the video. It helps educational stories like this reach more people. Another hidden danger of winter exposure is exhaustion. The body burns more calories trying to stay warm, even while rest and nutrition become harder to access. Sleep deprivation adds to the risk, reducing judgment, reaction time, and the ability to make safe decisions. During snowstorms, emergency response times can slow, increasing danger during medical crises. What makes winter especially dangerous is that many symptoms develop quietly. Cold does not always feel urgent until it becomes life-threatening. This is why winter exposure is considered a public health emergency, not just a seasonal inconvenience, and for those without shelter. The cold is not something they escape, it is something they endure, hour after hour. This is the reality behind winter survival, where the body becomes the first line of defense, and the cold never truly lets go. Chapter 4. When snowstorms shut down cities and survival becomes harder. Snowstorms do more than cover streets in white. They quietly disrupt every system people rely on to survive. As heavy snow begins to fall, roads become slippery, sidewalks disappear, and movement turns dangerous. Public transportation slows or shuts down entirely. Buses run late, trains are delayed, and routes are often suspended during severe weather. For someone with stable housing, this is an inconvenience. For someone experiencing homelessness, it can mean losing access to food, medical care, and warming centers miles away. Snow hides hazards beneath the surface: ice, uneven ground, and frozen puddles, increasing the risk of falls and injuries. During winter storms, emergency services often face delays as icy roads slow response times. A medical emergency that might be manageable on a clear day can become life-threatening during a storm. Snow also affects visibility, making it harder for outreach teams to locate people, and harder for individuals to signal for help. Cold weather shelters may extend hours during storms, but reaching them becomes the challenge. Walking long distances in snow, while carrying belongings, drains energy the body cannot afford to lose in freezing temperatures. Wet snow seeps into shoes and clothing, turning cold exposure into a serious danger. Storms don't just last a few hours. They often leave behind days of icy conditions, keeping systems disrupted long after snowfall ends. For those outdoors, this means fewer options, fewer safe routes, and longer exposure to extreme cold. What looks peaceful from a window feels relentless on the streets. Snowstorms reveal how fragile survival becomes when mobility is lost and help is just out of reach. In winter, the storm is not just the snow falling from the sky, it is everything that stops working afterward. And for those without shelter, each storm turns survival into an even steeper uphill climb. Chapter 5. Behind the Numbers. 7,200 lives facing winter outdoors. The number sounds simple. 7,200 people experiencing homelessness across Maryland this winter. But behind that number are real people, real decisions, and moments where everything changed, like one man who worked full-time for years, until rising rent increased faster than his paycheck, and one missed payment turned into eviction. Today, he sleeps in a small tent behind a shopping center, trying to keep snow off thin fabric and hope alive. Or the woman who lived paycheck to paycheck, until heating bills and medical costs piled up, and choosing warmth meant missing rent. Now, she spends winter nights on a sidewalk, wrapping herself in layers, listening to traffic instead of silence. These stories are not rare. They are repeating across cities and towns. Some lost housing suddenly. Others slowly slipped behind. One bill, one storm, one setback at a time. Winter does not ask how you got here. It only tests how long you can endure. Older adults lose body heat faster, making freezing temperatures especially dangerous. Families face impossible choices between shelter availability, safety, and staying together. For many, homelessness was never part of the plan, and winter makes recovery slower and harder. Job searches pause, appointments are missed, and survival takes priority over everything else. What remains visible is not failure, but resilience under pressure. These are not strangers. They are neighbors, workers, parents, caught in the cold at the worst possible time. The number 7,200 is not just data. It is thousands of unfinished stories, unfolding night after night in winter. And as temperatures fall, each story shares the same question: how to survive until spring arrives. Chapter 6. How communities respond when winter hits hardest. When winter tightens its grip, help does not disappear. It adapts. Across Maryland, outreach teams move through snow-covered streets, checking on people during the coldest nights. Volunteers distribute winter coats, thermal blankets, gloves, and hot drinks meant to restore warmth. Mobile outreach units focus on prevention, watching for early signs of hypothermia, and guiding people toward available shelters. During extreme cold alerts, local governments often open warming centers, extending hours in public buildings like libraries and community halls. These spaces offer temporary relief, a few hours of heat, and a chance to recover from exposure. Medical volunteers play a critical role, treating frostbite, respiratory issues, and cold-related injuries on the spot. But winter response is complex because need rises faster than resources. Outreach teams are limited by staff, weather conditions, and the same snowstorms affecting everyone else. Reaching people becomes harder when streets are icy and visibility is low. Despite these challenges, communities continue to show up. Faith groups prepare hot meals, nonprofits coordinate emergency supplies, and neighbors report concerns when they see someone in danger. Education also matters during winter response, helping people recognize cold-related symptoms early, before conditions become life-threatening. These efforts save lives, but they are often temporary solutions, working against long-term housing shortages. Winter response is not about fixing homelessness overnight. It is about preventing loss of life during the coldest months. Every blanket, every check-in, and every open warming center represents a moment of protection against winter. And while winter exposes the limits of systems, it also reveals the power of collective action. In the coldest conditions, community becomes one of the strongest defenses. Chapter 7. Why Winter Makes Homelessness Harder to Escape. Winter does more than create discomfort. It slows every possible path forward. Cold weather limits movement, reduces opportunity, and drains the energy needed to rebuild stability. Finding work becomes harder, construction slows, outdoor jobs disappear, and interviews are missed due to snow and transit delays. Transportation becomes unreliable. Buses are canceled, roads are unsafe, and reaching appointments takes more effort than the body can afford. Cold forces people to focus on survival first, finding warmth, staying dry, and protecting basic health. When survival takes priority, long-term planning becomes almost impossible. Even small setbacks matter more in winter. A missed appointment, a lost ID, or a storm that cancels services for days. Cold weather also increases fatigue. The body burns more calories to stay warm, while access to food becomes less predictable. Sleep is disrupted by freezing temperatures, reducing focus, judgment, and the ability to make safe decisions. Health issues worsen during winter, turning manageable conditions into serious barriers. Without consistent warmth, recovery slows, and setbacks last longer. Housing searches pause as well. Fewer units become available, and rising rents do not pause for winter. Shelters provide temporary relief, but they cannot replace stability or create permanent exits from homelessness. Winter traps people in place, not because they stop trying, but because the conditions make progress harder. Each cold night spent outdoors reduces physical strength and delays the chance to move forward. What looks like stagnation is often exhaustion caused by months of exposure. Winter reveals a difficult truth. Escaping homelessness requires energy, and winter takes that energy away. This is why winter homelessness lasts longer, costs more, and leaves deeper scars. And for many, spring does not represent relief, but recovery from a season that took everything it could. Chapter 8. The Mental and Emotional Weight of Surviving Winter Outdoors. Winter doesn't only affect the body, it slowly weighs on the mind. Cold nights stretch longer, darkness arrives earlier, and isolation becomes harder to ignore. When temperatures drop, people retreat indoors, and public spaces grow quiet. For those living outside, this silence feels heavier. Human interaction becomes limited, fewer passers-by, fewer conversations, and fewer chances to be seen. Stress builds as the body stays in constant alert mode, listening for danger, watching the weather, and preparing for the cold to worsen. Sleep deprivation becomes common as freezing temperatures interrupt rest, and safety concerns prevent deep sleep. Without proper rest, anxiety increases. Decision-making becomes harder. Winter also amplifies uncertainty. Not knowing where to sleep, or whether help will be available the next day. This uncertainty can lead to hopelessness, especially during repeated storms and cold waves. Mental health conditions like depression and anxiety often worsen during winter exposure, without consistent access to care or support. Cold weather limits access to services, appointments are missed, and outreach becomes less frequent. Loneliness intensifies when days pass without warmth or reassurance that things will improve. For many, the hardest part of winter is not the snow, but the feeling of being forgotten. Survival requires resilience, but resilience has limits. When winter drags on, even strong minds begin to tire. This emotional exhaustion is rarely visible, but it shapes every decision and every moment outdoors. Winter homelessness is not just physical hardship, it is mental endurance, tested day after day. And as the cold continues, the greatest challenge becomes holding on to hope when winter gives so little back. Chapter 9. What actually helps during winter. Small actions that save lives. Winter solutions are not always dramatic, but they are often life-saving. During extreme cold, even small actions can make a measurable difference. A warm blanket can slow heat loss, dry socks can prevent frostbite, and a hot drink can help stabilize body temperature. Outreach teams focus on practical needs first: warmth, hydration, and early medical attention. Education also plays a critical role. Knowing the signs of hypothermia, such as confusion, slurred speech, and uncontrollable shivering, allows faster response before conditions become fatal. Communities that share information about warming centers, extended shelter hours, and emergency cold alerts reduce winter-related harm. Donations matter most when they are seasonal. Coats in winter, not leftovers from warmer months. Financial support helps shelters expand hours, hire temporary staff, and respond during cold waves. Advocacy matters too. Policies that fund emergency housing, rent assistance, and winter utility support reduce the number of people pushed outdoors during the coldest months. Checking in also matters. A phone call, a reported concern, or simply noticing someone struggling in the cold can activate help. Winter response works best when communities act early, before storms arrive, and before temperatures reach dangerous levels. No single action solves homelessness, but winter safety depends on layered support. When people understand the risks and respond with awareness, fewer lives are lost to the cold. Winter does not have to be deadly when preparation replaces indifference. These small actions may seem simple, but in freezing temperatures, they often mean survival. And in a season where so much is out of reach, even small help carries real weight. Chapter 10. When winter ends, what remains after the cold. Winter eventually loosens its grip. Snow melts, temperatures rise, and the season quietly changes. But for many, the impact of winter does not disappear with the cold. Months of exposure leave behind exhaustion, worsened health, and setbacks that take time to heal. What winter reveals is not just hardship, but how fragile stability can be without shelter. Cold does not create homelessness, but it exposes the consequences of limited housing and rising costs. When spring arrives, the streets look different, but the need for solutions remains. Recovery does not happen overnight. It requires time, support, and consistent access to housing. The lessons of winter matter beyond the season. Preparing before cold arrives, expanding shelter capacity, and addressing affordability prevents future loss. Awareness is not enough by itself, but it is the first step toward action. Every winter teaches the same truth, that safety should not depend on the weather. The cold reminds us that shelter is not comfort, it is protection and dignity. As the last snow disappears, the stories continue. Some will find stability, others will still be searching. What happens next depends on what is remembered once winter fades from view. This crisis does not belong to one season. It belongs to the choices made before the next one arrives. And as winter ends, the question remains, will the lessons of the cold be forgotten, or used to build something warmer and lasting? If this story stayed with you, if it made you pause, or see winter a little differently, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Not for numbers, but so these stories continue to be seen, especially by those who need to hear the most. Winter passes, but awareness can last much longer. Thank you for watching and for caring.